Before we start anything, we have to begin our retrospection. We have to understand fully the type of game we are working with. We have to ask ourselves, what is COD Zombies? COD Zombies, at its core, is an endless horde survival first-person shooter. The player starts with practically nothing in most games: a pistol, maybe some grenades, and their wits. That is all. What they are up against are these strange creatures called zombies. Have you ever heard of them? They are walking undead people, able to tank more 45 ACP than a piece of sheet metal, and have enough swinging power to completely fold the player faster than any UFC fighter. And though the player may be able to kill all those zombies, they will come back in more numbers and stronger, until eventually the player is curb stomped by a reenactment of a Black Friday stampede. Progress in the game is tied with the in-game currency called points. Points are used to progress the game and, by extension, the player forward towards obtaining power and playable area. Two versions of it exist, and each one requires a slightly different playstyle if the player wants to eke out as many points as possible. This is the lifeblood of all mutual progress in a zombies game. Power is given to the player through weapons, perks, and the pack punch. Some maps offer a quest or a so-called Easter egg to grant the player even more power, or it simply stops at obtaining Pack-a-Punch. But eventually, there will be a plateau, and the player will be as strong as they can be, and the zombies will overwhelm them. Every game ends in either death, quitting, or more recently, exfilling, an alternative for more satisfaction and control in ending a game. These are the consistent gameplay elements present in almost every iteration of COD Zombies. Curious how in almost all scenarios the end is the same. The player could go to round 1 or round 100. Either way, the end is inevitable, in such a short amount of time too. So what makes players keep playing? I'm not gonna pretend like I'm a super analytical guy, but for me, I think I see two aspects: self-improvement and power tripping. There is a challenge that COD Zombies brings that encourages people to push themselves more and more. There are real feats of persistence and skill that just don't appear in any other kind of game. There is a real satisfaction for people pushing themselves in a game that never ends, even if only on a smaller scale for casual players. And power tripping really brings out the intensity in a player. Although it's more appealing to casuals, it's what makes them get addicted to the gameplay, almost like chasing a high. And once a player starts experiencing it, they will do bolder and riskier things to prolong or enhance their adrenaline. Plus, there's nothing better to me than just going Now I will introduce the game mode types, which heavily influence how these aspects are acquired. The two main game modes are round-based gameplay or outbreak gameplay. First, the fan favorite, round-based. It is a faster-paced game mode that emphasizes survival, and enemies constantly seek to player out wave through wave. This game mode is ideal for those wanting consistent stimulation and has been the foundation of the game for years. Outbreak gameplay is quite literally the opposite. It is slower paced, emphasizes objectives, and the players themselves have to seek stimulation and challenge. This made the game mode more forgiving or demanding. On one end, you could chill out in the snow for a couple of minutes, or be fighting Godzilla-sized enemies with zombies up the ass. It allowed for exploration and was a step in the direction of a true open-world zombies game. A relatively new game mode, but should be considered equally as valid. And the last type of game mode category would be those of party games. A bunch fall under this, like Turn, Grief, or the BO4 Gauntlets. These are just fun-ish side games a player could play when survival starts to become a little bit stale. These are the game types that carried COD Zombies throughout its existence, but undoubtedly, the most important is round-based, making it quite literally a requirement in any COD Zombie game. But it by itself is just a foundation. All gameplay types rely on the systems in place to make them good. Though BO4 had many round-based maps, the systems in place made the whole game god-awful. So what are the systems placed in the round-based maps that made them work? All the systems like to follow what I would call mutually exclusive progression. Every game, no matter what type, had the player start over from the very beginning. The perks, the pack-a-punch, and the guns are all milestones in terms of progression. Perks are drinks that give individual buffs to the player. Juggernaut gives an extra 100 health, Double Tap increases fire rate and doubles damage, and Speed Cola allows the player to reload faster, all basic stuff. The Pack-a-Punch is a way to permanently upgrade the player's weapon. Damage, ammo, coolness factor, they were all massively increased. Working in tandem with the perks, you could become virtually unstoppable. But what good were those two without the base of it all? The guns. With a wide range to choose from, each serves a purpose. Damage, rate of fire, point collection, being so bad that it's a meme, and the way of acquiring them is different in each game, at least to a marginal degree due to the mystery box. The mystery box is a box where a player takes a chance with 950 points to get a random gun. This is often the main way of receiving the most powerful guns, since most of them tend to be exclusive to the box. Considering that guns are the things a player will be using the most, they must serve as the most effective and memorable tools for any player of COD Zombies, especially when we go into the subcategory of Wonder Weapons. Wonder Weapons serve as the mostly dominant weapon of any Zombies map, being one of the most important parts of the map's identity, despite what its actual effectiveness is. They are often unconventional weaponry and fantastical in terms of killing zombies, allowing for great amounts of creativity when designing one. But by no means are most of these systems given out for free. Often there is an obstacle to progress called the power. In the zombie apocalypse, of course there will be no power. It often acts as the main location a player prioritizes in order to gain access to the powerful systems they require. In most games, it is strategically placed as the midpoint of map exploration, which I believe helped encourage a certain kind of map flow. Certain doors, perks, and the Pack-a-Punch are all unavailable until the player turns on the power. Once the power is on, the player will first explore the new areas and acquire their perks, then head back towards power, where Pack-a-Punch is most likely located, and upgrade their weapons. From there, the player does as they please. It is imperative to remember this flow, as some maps disregarded this flow and instead made getting Pack-a-Punch like a frayed thread of tasks, which just mounted up tedium in the gameplay. Transit, Zetsubo, and especially Shangri-La, where it is practically impossible to get Pack-a-Punch on public games. There are many more systems, like power-ups, gobblegums, salvage and workbenches, defensive gear. All of them serve as a way to mix up gameplay or increase survivability. But let's not get bogged down on this subject. Who is the player playing as, and who exactly are they fighting against? For most, if not all, of Call of Duty Zombies history, we followed a cast of 4 main characters: Dempsey, Nikolai, Takeo, and Richtofen. No matter their appearances or their mannerisms, they were the main things people grew emotionally attached to. It is with this cast that draws a player to a very important aspect of a COD Zombies game: the story. The story is a main selling point of a COD Zombies game. Though everyone may not be a story nut, doing it effectively will have players discussing it years after the game's initial release. Why else would there be a 10-hour documentary of the entire COD Zombie storyline? Because players were drawn in and inspired to explore the story and craft their own interpretations of it. But who drives the conflict in these stories? Well, zombies, duh. Well, technically, the apothecans or German research going wrong, but at least their efforts all come back around to involving zombies. Their concept is nothing new, but COD Zombies have this unique aspect to them. Their eyes glowed, and they had these iconic sounds that helped them stand out from all kinds of zombies media. So much so that they became a meme for a while.
The secret formula, or I'll destroy the Krusty Krab!
Ah, you and what army, Bug?
What army? What army? Look around you, crabs!
You planted grass?
Grass?
Though not as numerous as World War Z or as mutative as Resident Evil, they reach this middle ground that allows the player to have fun regardless. But a unique aspect that these games have that other zombies titles don't is once again the power trip aspect. Every zombie title has their characters on the back foot, while in COD Zombies, killing and feeling good about it is such a pivotal aspect of the game that it literally made me so biased about other zombies games because I have to use regular old guns instead of their pack-a-punch variants. But we're getting off track again. Zombies on their own would be stale after a while, so specials and elites accompany them. Specials are usually present, I would say, for the gameplay purpose of delaying regeneration for the player or buffing other zombies. Not often directly attributed for killing a player, but still disruptive nonetheless. While elites have a heavily disruptive presence, often majorly shifting how a player would approach any situation. It is these aspects of the game that I would say are the most important parts of a COD Zombies standalone game. So taking what I have, how would I implement them into a COD Zombies standalone game? I'm afraid you'll have to find out next time in part 2.